I still remember dialing 911. My recording is probably hilarious because I was so sure that it was nothing and I was just being a good girl, doing what my officer and victims advocate had told me. And at that time, I was a bit of a codependent. So I felt super bad to call police and involve them when they obviously had more important things to do, like actual crimes. I mean, really, whose stalker is dumb enough to drive 17 hours and sit outside their house just waiting for them to come home? I was mistaken. That was September 4th, 2015. I would never spend another night in my own home. The wave of fear that came over my life after that is hard to describe. I would live in impending fear for about 16 months until I learned of his death. 18 months after that, though, I was diagnosed with PTSD. For the first time in my life, no amount of my accomplishments or achievements really mattered. Growing up in a white female of privilege in the evangelical realm, things are portrayed in absolutes, right? Including the roles of gender, the importance of hard work, and rule following. Thanks so much, Luther. God rewards obedience and punishes wrong. American governments are fair and just, and churches, they're about doing good. This was not simply my congregational myth, but my family myth, and frankly, the fishbowl I had been swimming in since forever. The idea of a clear cause and effect is helpful to those of us who are ESTJ on Myers-Briggs or Enneagram 1s. But facing a crisis, the simple right and wrong of my childhood theology didn't really serve me anymore. You see, for the first time in my life, I faced a situation too big for me to fix. I couldn't perform my way out of this one. By then, more than 2 years after that frightful September night, I was still not okay, and I didn't know why. My therapist said to me, "What makes you the most angry or feel the most shame about your case?" I said, "Because I did everything right. I was the good girl with the good grades and the good career and the good decisions, and here I am, and that isn't fair." And I will never forget her response. She said, "Is that how you think this works? Is that how you think God works?" And in an instant, I realized my whole reality had changed. Let's back up, shall we? My childhood is somewhat idyllic. Although I was born with a genetic condition and have certainly faced obstacles, I have incredible parents who instilled what I can only describe in me as an unhealthy amount of self-esteem. My brother, who I've spoken of in this class, was not adopted until I was 8. So those formative years of human development had the best genogram a girl could possibly hope for. Enneagram 1s, the perfectionist. Yes, we are. And thus far, it had served me pretty well. And not only served me well, but been the message I had received. I had seen too many churches that celebrated wealth and perfection, and then had what the world would describe a pretty successful career in politics. That is a dangerous combination. But when you dial 911, things change fast. In a matter of moments, it was all gone. Sometimes the path is strange, right? 2 of my closest friends gave me shelter and then kind of became my family. And prior to coming to McAfee, I spent the last 5 years living on a farm helping them grow their family business. Y'all, do not laugh. If Palmer can live in a Quaker commune, I can live on a farm. For a while, I was just healing, just hoping to walk through a crowd without feeling fear. And then I found recovery. Yes, the 12 steps of addiction. Turns out the steps, not just for addicts. For those who don't know, they're loosely based on the Beatitudes. So I decided to do a step study with a group of women, and I found myself sitting in rooms that honestly, I probably thought I was above before. That step study was one of the hardest, most beautiful things I have ever done. But as Taylor reminds us, you have to go through the pain. There's no growth in comfort, right? What I found in that room was a group of women who loved me no matter what. And not the perfect happy me, super successful, picking up tabs, the crying on the floor feeling like I had no worth me. And together, we fought to unpack not just the trauma that had brought us in the room, but a lifetime of labels that other people had given us or the prisons we had created for ourselves. Step 12. Having a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others. And that's what I did. My new wounded healer-like self found joy in helping others around me find the goodness within themselves. Sometimes people just need to know that they're seen and loved and that they have a choice. Honestly, I didn't know that safety and being seen were my core values until this course. Whether I was helping lead the next recovery group, volunteering in the fight against human trafficking, or running a dog kennel on the farm that employed special needs adults, I felt called to something bigger than what I was doing. And then, as so many of the narratives we read, the call got louder and louder and louder and hard to ignore. Last semester in a theology class, a classmate said, "Sometimes the worst thing that will ever happen to you is also the best thing that will ever happen to you." Myers would call it cataclysmic reluctant. Palmer would call it, "Look at what life has done to you." Some days I want to call it that part where God laughs that I finally gave in. But this is my authentic truth. I was alive, and it opened my eyes to the plight of everyone else around me. As Thurman reminds us, the sermon is almost never about the person with their back against the wall. By this point, experiencing the very worst of the judicial system, I started to confront that maybe this is how it was set up. And this left one question ringing in my mind. What happens to the other girls? Let me rephrase that. What happens to the girls who are not white, upper middle class with parents who stand by them? What happens to the people who do not have resources to abandon their homes, have nowhere to go, or do not have years of political allies to call on? Because I had all of those things, and I still know how my name and reputation was treated in those courtrooms. To clarify, this was not my first trauma. No, this was not the first time I had questioned how I had been indoctrinated. And no, this was not the first encounter I had with seeing injustice all around me. No, it wasn't the first. This is just the one that flipped the tables. My cataclysmic moment that led to surrender, September 4th, 2015, the worst and best day of my life. Now, because of that moment, I'm here, preparing to carry the 12th step into my vocational calling, whether that be in faith or mental health. But I can assure you of this. Because of that moment, I will spend the rest of my life fighting so that no one ever feels marginalized again, not as a creation or before their creator. As they say in the rooms, thanks for letting me share.